Anderson ends up taking Simon and he's walking him back to his car. And so he was like, am I in trouble? And he was like, no, you're not in trouble. He was like, where are you taking me? Oh, I'm taking you back to your car. Oh, and by the way, can we not mention this to anyone tomorrow? And so he was like, all right, whatever. And by the way, why why are you out here so late? And so he doesn't say anything. He just tells him to drive safely. And then after he gets in the car, we see that there is a flashback of a car slamming into a tree of some sorts. He gets out, and of course, the car is wrecked. I wonder if Maddie was in this car, or if he was in the car and he was doing something that he shouldn't have been doing. Questions that need answers. So then we go over to Sandra. Sandra goes to go pay Xavier's dad, the sheriff, a visit because she's trying to figure out just why in the world he's calling off the search parties to try to find Maddie. And so he says, basically it's one of those things where we've been short of staff. There's been an uptick in break-ins. And so I'm just trying to, figure out the best way to utilize my team, so to speak. So she was like, are you sure this isn't because of your campaign that you're running? Are you sure that you're calling this off because you don't want to lose your campaign? And so he was like, no, this has nothing to do with that. All right. And we really don't have too much to go off of at this point. We've exhausted a lot of our leads. But I'm still going to try to continue to do everything that I can to find your daughter. It's just there are other situations going on that require our attention as well. And so he says that he's going to continue to keep looking for her. Okay, I have not forgot about Maddie, but we've got other things that we've got to do as well. Life goes on, unfortunately. And so she says, all right, well, just find her. Okay, keep looking for her. And so she ends up leaving. So after she leaves, we see that Xavier has been ear hustling on the entire conversation. And so he was like, where are you going? And so he was like, I'm going back to school. Okay, I heard that you haven't really been able to find anything thus far, and I'm assuming that also includes finding any evidence to pin against me. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go back to school because he's tired of sitting in the daggone house. So he ends up leaving, y'all. So then after that, we go over to Maddie and Simon. Maddie and Simon are talking, and they found a new location, y'all. It seems like they're up under like a bus stop at this point in time, and so they're having a conversation about Anderson and how creepy it was that he randomly popped up on the scene last night. It was crazy, right? And so, although Simon still does kind of believe that Xavier has something to do with Maddie's disappearance slash murder, he's now kind of turning his attention to Mr. Anderson. Okay, Mr. Anderson is looking very suspicious as well. It's very creepy that he showed up randomly last night. And so, although she does admit that it did seem very weird and out of sorts that he popped up randomly, she doesn't believe that he has anything to do with this. I mean, after all, he is the coolest teacher that they have. I mean, he lets them swear in class as long as it's, involving literature. And then also he does like all of these reenactments when they're reading like, Shakespeare stuff like Macbeth, right? And so he was like, you might be right. All right, but I just cannot shake this feeling that something is going on here. And so she was like, at the end of the day, it can't be him. I mean, we were close. Like, I kind of saw him as a friend. I mean, he did give me his number once, right? And so Simon was like, wait, what? He gave you his number? She was like, no, it wasn't like that, okay? We're just friends. I just wouldn't think that he would be the one to do anything to me. But at least we're getting, new reception now, new location. And so he was like, okay, how did you find this spot? And she was like, I just did my little Roman thing and I just kind of lingered until you either saw me or you didn't. And so he was like, does this include the bathroom sometimes? And she was like, maybe. And he was like, Maddie. And she says she left before she saw anything, but she does recommend that he start washing his hands a little bit more. Come on, man. Come on, man, you got to do that. That's gross. And so he ends up telling her to do her little ghostly thing and um follow him. And so she was like, which him are you referring to, Xavier Anderson? And he was like, both at this point. I don't care. But of course, as he says this, we've got kids passing by, and since he's pretending to be on the phone, he was like, those spam callers, or whatever he said, collection callers. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The infomercial callers. Somebody that he don't need to be talking to on the phone. So that's that. Maddie, get the snooping, girl. So as Simon is running back to the school building, we see a flashback of Maddie. She has overslept in class, and Mr. Anderson is coming to wake her up because he's got the freshman class coming in just a second. And I'm sure that she doesn't want to sit in and listen to that, okay? And so she ends up telling him that she has her paper because he was like, hey, so do you need an extension? Do you need extra time on your paper or what? And so she's like, no, I actually have it here. And so he read the title of it, and he was like, I don't see how you're able to still pull this off. Like, you continue to surprise me. Okay. And so he also ends up saying, that he's pretty sure that it must be difficult for her to keep her world separate. And so she was like, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, Mr. Anderson, but you don't know anything about me. And so he was like, no, I don't, but maybe I do. And so he ends up pulling a chip out of his pocket, and it happens to be his dad's recovering chip, like his recovering addict chip. And so she was like, okay, is this yours? And he says, no, this is my dad's. Okay, well, why do you have it? And so he says that it's just to remind him to continue to take it one day at a time. So, of course, he must have saw something in her that kind of reminded him of himself. And so I guess he's just trying to show her the ropes, but because, he's her teacher, it seems kind of weird. And so he takes the weirdo meter up even more, and he writes down his telephone number, and he sticks it on the desk, right? And so she ends up putting the chip down, and she picks up the number and puts it in her backpack. So she ends up making the excuse that, of course, she's got to get to class. She's going to be late. And as she's walking out the door, we see the scene skip forward to now where Maddie has disappeared and Xavier is walking through the doors, y'all. And those whispers that those kids were giving him, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe that he's back. He's probably covering his hair like that to cover his horns up. What is Devil Boy doing back here? I can't believe he's showing his face here. You know how kids are. And so he goes to his locker, and then we go over to Simon. Simon has hypothetically laid this scenario out to where he basically spills the beans about Mr. Anderson giving his phone number to Maddie. And so she was like, wait, what? Where did you hear that from? And so he was like, I heard it online. And so she's like, where? And it doesn't matter, okay? Look, is it weird or not? And she was like, yeah, I thought we were talking about hypotheticals, though. And he was like, no, now I'm taking it into unhypothetical territory, okay? What are we doing? And so she was like, well, it is kind of weird, but we've all been walking around here like zombies lately. Just look at his car. He looks like he lives out of his car. And so he was like, wait, what? His car? So, of course, Simon probably has the bright idea now that we need to go rummage through his car to figure out just what secrets he's hiding. And so he ends up asking Nicole, does she have free time? And she says, wait, what? She doesn't really have a chance to answer because he just grabs her hand and pulls her. So regardless if she got free time or not, she's gonna go do a little B&E. So Maddie's sitting in group, and Mr. M is wanting to know how her obit is coming along. And so she was like, yeah, I just haven't gotten started on that. I've just been so sidetracked. I feel like I honestly didn't get any sleep at all last night. And so he was like, well, it sounds like you've spent too many days here at the school. And so she was like, is there any other option?